I mean, I think
Yo,
it's
shoot,
fine,
like
though.
the Hodge twins, boy. They just
What
talk
do the
about
Hodge twins
relationship
do?
shit.
Really?
Be like, yo, you ever had a girl like it up the butt, and then and then they're like, hell yeah. But I don't have that many stories, so I don't know.
I mean, to start off talking about med school, you know.
All right.
Where why do you think people become doctors? That's what I want to know. Because what I think is like, I think people say they want to save people, but how are people gonna save people when they can't even save themselves? You know what I'm saying?
So why people want to be doctors? Yeah. Honestly, I think it's for the money. It's like a lot of people. Well, it's a lucrative job because it's like a lot of people know that if they get through like 4 years, they're gonna be making bank like eventually, you know. And so, I mean, it's different.
4 years, isn't it like 12 years?
Well, yeah,
total?
it's like 10 years at the most because you do 4 years of school, 4 years of residency, and 1 or 2 years of fellowship. But people know that they're gonna be making bank eventually, so it's like.
But what is bank?
Huh?
Like, how much is bank?
Like 6 figures, at least. Like the minimum a doctor should be making is like $100K, because dentists make that much, and so a doctor should definitely be making more than a dentist. No offense to dentists, but I'm just saying like the rigor of med school is like prepares you for that type of job.
Like there's a lot of fields that make 6 figures or like
Right.
at least $100K, right? You can work a blue collar job for like the same amount of time for like 10 years and make $100K, and you're pretty much, I don't know about now, but previously you're pretty much guaranteed because you're unionized to not get fired, and as long as you stay the course, you pretty much can make $100K.
But it's not guaranteed though.
It is pretty much guaranteed because in the union you get a steady raise each year, you know.
But there's no chance for like progression, because like after 10 years the most you can make is like a set amount, whereas a doctor it's not the same thing because a doctor doesn't work for 10 years. A doctor, it takes 10 years to become like a real doctor. So in that time period, it's still training really, and then after 10 years, if you start from like that point where like after 10 years they start working and becoming a doctor, they make like a lot more money than like a blue collar person would,
Yeah, but I also think that you have to take in consideration that you have to take out loans to become a doctor, right? So
not if you rich, boy.
Yeah, that's true. So like the follow up to that is
true.
A lot of people who become doctors, are their families already doctors, or do they already have the money to?
I think it's a privilege.
It's a
for
privilege.
Sure. Like it's like there's definitely people out there that have the privilege of becoming a doctor versus people that can't. It's not because they're like people who become doctors are smarter. It's just because like for me, like I took 2 years after college to like work and go to school. Like I did my master's, and like that cost a lot of money in itself. So it's like anyone else who didn't have the situation that I did probably wouldn't be able to do all that and like build up their resume, and then they probably wouldn't look as good in their applications, So it's not like.
So if they don't have that option to like get a master's and work like in a medical related field, are you saying that they're banking on right after undergraduate to like get a perfect MCAT score and like having a perfect GPA and all this stuff to get into med school?
Exactly.
So what happens if they don't do that? Like they just like
They
broke
don't do
down
that?
test day and like they just didn't get a good score?
I mean, then it's like all about how much you're willing to put yourself through it to try to become a doctor. Because at that point, it's like I need to like find a job because I need to support myself, and then I need to be able to afford to take the MCAT again, which is like $300, and then I need to be able to like do all this other shit that like makes it so that you can be as good as someone who like took 2 years off and like went to school again and all that crap. So it's like it's a privilege to be able to like build up your resume and application the way that some people like I have, So it's not everyone has equal opportunity, but also if you're like another race, for example, you're Hispanic or African American, or any race beside white and Asian,
like any race that is the minority in the field, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. You're actually way more likely to get in despite lower MCAT and lower GPA. And I'm not just saying that because that's proof. Like, I'm not just saying that because I'm like salty or anything. I'm not. I'm just saying like that's proof. Like, if you look at the admission statistics, like Hispanics and African Americans are more likely to get in a lower range of MCAT and GPA versus like any other race. So it's like,
isn't that like kind of messed up though, in the sense that they're not getting in based on the merits of their scores, or like the other side of the argument could be that because they are a minority in this group and they might come from less privileged backgrounds, so they're already at a bigger disadvantage.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you think that like levels out the playing field for them, or is it just like for a liberal standpoint that everybody should we should have like equal diversity in everything?
No, it's definitely because they come from, like, they're more likely to come from disadvantaged backgrounds. Like, on the application, actually, there's a checkbox that you can check to state that if you want to apply as like a disadvantaged minority, they'll waive all the application fees and everything. So it's like definitely something that the AAMC, the people that like regulate admissions, look for.
But what's the, like, is there a factor or something that they check to see if you are coming from a disprivileged background? Because people from any race can come from a disprivileged background, you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they do income. They check income for, like, your family, so they require some tax returns or something like that. And then, but, like, I would say most Asians and most white people that I know or, you know, don't come from disadvantaged backgrounds. I'm sure they can still apply, but I feel like it's not as, like, a big of a factor for them. Not saying that,
but I feel like if you really want to get into med school and your personality type is like that, where you want to try to do everything, even if it's like morally in the gray area, to try to get into med school, you can. Like, a lot of Asian people have cash businesses, right? So on paper, they might look like they have a low income.
Yeah.
So if it can't be only income, right? I don't know. It might be.
I mean, I don't know really how the admissions work, but I feel like income is a big part of it because you can apply as a disadvantaged citizen.
Right.
But, like, I don't know. I just feel like the race and the gender thing also. I think there's too many males in medicine, like as an MD.
Right.
So also females get more of like a boost, but not as much gender as much racially, but like, I don't know. Because if you look at how many Asian and white people are in med school, it's like more than 60-70% of them are Asian and white. So like the 30% is like all the minorities included.
So there's like also a argument that goes around for like high paying, like I guess traditionally high paying fields that are like that, like doctor, engineer, and things like that, where they want more diversity in the workplace and like also gender equality in the workplace. But also the argument goes that there's just more people of like, let's say, white and Asian background going to these fields, and there's just more males statistically going to these fields, and that's why there is not as much diversity as there could be. Just because people of these like I guess backgrounds kind of gravitate towards that. And I don't know, I feel like it's okay if, you know, it's like, I mean,
if you think about it, like, let's say you go to the doctor, right? Like, let's say you're like you know, a Hispanic woman who doesn't speak English, right? And like you live in an area where it's like, you know, not so wealthy, but it's not like impoverished area or anything like that. But like the only people you can find are like white and Asian people. You know what I'm saying? So like it I think there's an advantage to like being from a certain culture, and you want more doctors that can cater to like that specific population of like you know, Hispanic speaking people or Spanish speaking people. Like my mom does a lot of Chinese people, you know, which is good because she works in areas where there's a high population of Chinese people. But if you had just all like one or two races of doctors in the entire country, then serving these like different, I guess, subsets of like populations would be extremely difficult to cater to, you know? So it's like, I think it's good that the application, you know, committee selects against, you know, the majority for a lot of it, which is, you know.
I think that's interesting part, because in fields where you can just get in, like if there's a need, somebody can just give a supply, right? But then in a doctor's field, I guess you have to get this certification before you can like practice doctorate or law or whatever the field may be. So yeah, I think that's a good point.
I think any field that you have to work with people, it's less. I mean, obviously you have to be capable. Like you got to be smart. You got to be all this crap. But like, you know, it's as opposed to working in like something like, I mean, tech, for example. I know there's a lot of Asian people in tech, but it doesn't matter as much like what you are, because you're if you're good at coding or you're good at developing, like you're gonna get a position, right? But like as a doctor, you have to converse with people, you have to like deal with different types of people, so you got to be like a different people person and like.
So you're thinking about more like client side facing positions, right? Like salespeople.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think there's definitely like a niche that needs to be filled for any diversity, and like I think it's just natural human behavior that we want to associate with others like us. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess I went to Asian doctor too.
That's what I'm saying. You don't go. I mean, you. It's naturally you gravitate toward people that you like relate to. You know what I'm saying? And doctors are super personal, right? Like you went to my mom's office, or like you post your legs up on the chair, and then they dig into your like vagina and all that crap. Like, I mean, yeah, it's personal. So like, if you're more comfortable with the doctor doing it, you're more willing to like do it. It's also like a personal relationship if you think about it like that. So like, that's why it's important.
I guess that's true, but. I'm trying to think, like, what if we had a situation where, let's say, you're the only doctor within, like, a 20-mile radius? Yeah. I mean, you're Asian, right? But you just happen to work there, and everybody else was, like, white. Or another race that wasn't Asian. Right. Obviously, I think your patients would still come to you just due to proximity. Yeah, right? For sure. But if let's say, like, the other doctor was of the same race, of the people within your 20-mile vicinity, do you think you would lose a ton of clients just based upon that?
In that case, you would be forced. I mean, not forced, but you would have the necessity of being the only doctor in a 20-mile radius. So these people have to come to you, more or less.
But I'm saying, like, if another player moved into the game, that was like of their descent.
I think you would be at a disadvantage in that part, because obviously I feel like people are more comfortable with people they relate to more. And if we were the only two doctors in a 20-mile radius, then I'm pretty sure I would get selected against.
That's interesting.
I think that's a reality, though. But that's just naturally how it goes. Not that people are racist. I mean, they might be, but, like, it's just people gravitate toward people that they find some, like kinship with, So.
All right. How about this, though? I think a lot of people who go to med school, I mean, I think this is what you told me, but people try to aim for like top 10, right? Med schools?
Depends which med school you go to. If you go to a med school like Columbia, where it's like everything's pass-fail, you're, I guess, less likely to aim for top 10%. And Columbia's a good enough school where you don't have to be top 10%. But if you go to like a lower tier, like DO school, then you would probably have to try to aim for top 10%, because then you would have to compete to get into residency. So
what I think is probably, I don't know, like I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but people who are picking their med schools, I'm assuming that they practice being a doctor where they graduated from med school, one, or two is wherever they do residency, or three is from their hometown. Right. Yeah. Do you think that sounds about right?
That they pick where they
like practice being a doctor, it's based on where they went to school, where they went to residency, or their hometown, most likely.
I don't know. It's a lot of factors, really. Like my sister, for example, she went to med school in New Jersey, and then all of a sudden she did everything in California, and then she came back to New York to work, and then now she's in California to work. I think it's wherever they can find jobs. And nowadays, it's actually really hard to start a private practice, which is like your own clinic, basically. So less people do that. I mean, the advantage of making a private practice is that you can do it wherever you want. Like, you can do it at your home, or you can do it at, like, somewhere near you. But if you're not doing a private practice, you gotta work for, like, an insurance company, like my sister does, or, like, you find a hospital to work at.
Why is it harder to make a private practice now?
You gotta spend a lot more money, because you have to get the clients, right? You have to set up your office. You gotta, like, be a reputable doctor for people to want you to come to you, and then you gotta, like, put basically the clientele is really the hardest part to get, because people have to trust you, they have to know who you are. And really at that point, when you're just becoming a doctor after like 10 years of training, no one really knows you, you know. People are like still skeptical. It's like, oh, you're pretty new, and so like people don't trust you as much, so they try to find other doctors.
Yeah, I guess in my perspective, it's like I guess right now in the point of my life, I don't really care where I go to the doctor, in the sense that I think
but how do you find the doctors though?
Well, I still go to the same doctor I went to as a kid.
Oh, okay. But that because you know his experience, right?
Yeah, but if I moved, like let's say I moved to California or something, I guess the first thing I would do is just ask whoever I knew around there where they go to the doctor. So that's a word of mouth referral. But if I didn't have that option, I guess whatever is closest to me, I guess I would go to.
But how would you find which is closest to you?
Google.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to get at.
Oh.
Is that you get reviews online?
They don't have the presence yet.
Yeah, and also people can review you online.
Gotcha.
As soon as you Google someone, there's like a star rating. You know, like, oh, Dr. So-and-so, he has 3 or 4 stars.
But I feel like it's not that hard to get a rating on Google. Like, you can just ask your friend to do it for you.
For sure. But, I mean, that's the thing, though. It's, like, all subjective, right? Like, you know, as a doctor starting out, you probably wouldn't get too many ratings. And people wouldn't, I guess, know you as well. Yeah. So you wouldn't have the word of mouth, and you wouldn't have... I mean, you could possibly have the online ratings, but, like...
Because the crazy thing is, I think, like, every doctor's office I've seen or been to, it seems like it's always, like, you always have to make an appointment or you're going to be in the waiting line for a while. So my thinking is that if you just open up a practice, some patients who don't want to wait or they just can't wait, they would go to you. Like, let's say we had an office building in Manhattan, right? And it's just like a suite, like the floor is just full of doctors, and you open a practice. Yeah. I feel like just by proximity, some people might go towards you. I don't know if that's the truth or not.
That's cool.
But is it true?
I mean, it depends on what type of doctor you are. Like, I think the doctor you're thinking about is an internal medicine, like a primary care doctor who deals with whatever. But then it's harder if you're a specialty. Like, let's say you only focus on like the lungs, like you're a pulmonologist, right? Like, how many people in your area have lung problems? You know, then that becomes like a harder niche to kind of get into, because it's like, you know, you don't really know if you start a practice here, for example, somewhere in New Jersey, that you're going to get a ton of patients with pulmonary problems. I mean, you might, but the how specialties get their referrals is from other doctors. So you need to, like, know other doctors, and you need to be around the scene more, you know? Yeah. Otherwise, no one's going to refer anyone to you.
I feel like with specialists, though, since there's fewer, I think people are willing to go travel a further distance, you know what I'm saying, to come see you.
There's not fewer, there's few good ones.
Few good ones.
So, like, actually there's a lot of specialists around everywhere mostly, but there's only a couple that people really go to because they're really good at their field, right? And that takes like 10 plus years experience. That's like people go to like the hospital for special surgery to get like orthopedic surgery, like to get like their knee put back or whatever or something like that, because they're really good at what they do. That doesn't mean that there's not like orthopedic surgeons everywhere, but because like tons of people travel across the country just go to this one place because they know what they're doing, you know, they have the experience and the expert in the, you know, the ability to do well in what they do. So that's why.
So how do you hit that point though? Like, I feel like that goes back to it's harder to start a private practice, but it seems like it's just harder to start early in your career. Like, once you build up a reputation, like under like an insurance company or hospital or whatever you're working as, once you build up that reputation, I feel like you can take repeated clients to your private practice. Unless like there's like a non-compete that people sign. I don't know if that's true.
There is a non-compete, I think, but that only lasts for like a year or two after you, or I don't even know if it's a 2. It's just 1 year after you leave. But yeah, at that point, after you establish your I guess your expertise in the field, then, you know, you can start getting patients. And it's good because like when you're doing stuff like that, you meet a lot of other doctors. So like they'll like get to know you and feel like you're a good person to refer to, and then they'll start like, you know, the whole word of mouth thing even in the doctor community that goes around, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're presented as a really good doctor, and then you get the patients. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard to start off. That's what I'm saying. It's like when you just start off as a doctor, it's really hard to make a private practice because you don't have all that, going for you yet. So.
But I feel like, so let's say you don't start a private practice and you're just doing like the insurance route or hospital route or whatever routes there are, and you said that you think most people just do it for the money. Yeah. But once they hit that 6 figures, like you're making 6 figures at your first doctor job, right? How much motivation do they have to continue to further their practice into a specialty or like writing papers or like things like that, research? Or...
Well, I mean, it's true. You do make 6 figures starting off if you work for like a company, but you're limited again, because like, it's still a company. They take almost 70% of your profit, And if you started your own practice, you could have all of it essentially, like my mom does.
But you also have to worry about all the downside.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's like starting your own business. Like if you have a startup or anything, you have to worry about, your employees, they're giving them benefits and like all that crap, and like dealing with tax and the IRS and stuff like that. Like it's obviously a nightmare sometimes to deal with. That's why you have to be like a good business entrepreneur, person to be able to do that stuff. In addition to being a good doctor, which is why it's also super hard. Because most doctors aren't good at both, So, I mean, it's true.
What do you think the breakdown is? Like, how many people have a private practice versus other stuff? I don't know. I mean,
nowadays,
just from what I think of doctors, I think everybody has a private practice. But I know, like, the case is some people they work at hospitals sometimes, and then they have their own private practice, or they just work under like an umbrella of doctors where patients just go to them. Like, what's that thing that's been popping up? Like that 24-hour care.
Oh, those clinics.
Yeah, like those clinics.
The City MD stuff.
Yeah, City MDs. I feel like people are going to those. So for people who don't know, City MD, I don't know if it's a East Coast exclusive thing, but it's pretty much
everywhere. City MD is in New York, but like
big cities
something
only,
like
right,
that. Yeah, I think
So it's pretty much like a 24-hour clinic. Yeah.
You can go to, like, you can call them and be like, hey, I have this problem, and they'll tell you to come in. It's like, I mean, they're also taking a lot of the business because people like my mom or whatever, who is an internal medicine, so she does like the primary care stuff. Like, she's not available 24/7. So like you can't call her at 1 a.m. and be like, I have a sore throat. She won't answer. So like people company like City MD, like they are working around the clock. So like whenever you have an issue, you just go to them. So yeah, they are taking a lot of the business away from the private practice because they're so like, they're a business, they can have multiple doctors on call at any point in time and then be there for you, which is good and bad, because
it's like bad for business but good for the people.
Yeah, it's bad for people who have private practices, but good for like, I guess, the population as a whole. But they're also really expensive, which is really weird. But
I mean, like, there's more middlemen,
Yeah. I mean, whoever thought of that idea is a genius. I'm trying to be that guy. You feel me? Like,
but they're just copying from like all the shared economy stuff.
That's
like
what I'm saying.
On-call economy.
Yeah.
Like, if you need an Uber, there's somebody who's working that will get you.
Yeah.
If you need a spot to stay, Airbnb will provide that.
It's that like the, I don't know what you call it, the
shared economy.
Is it shared economy?
Well, those are what those type of business.
It's like a middleman economy.
Marketplace.
What?
Like eBay.
Yeah, it's like the middleman, like that doesn't necessarily produce the goods, but they
provide
connect
the marketplace
people with
for it,
the goods. So
it's crazy.
I mean, that's why. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna. I think 10 years from now, if I become a doctor, or I hopefully become a doctor, like I don't think I'm gonna start a private practice right away, even just because like it's not possible.
For you, it's only like 6 more years to become a doctor, right? Assuming everything's well and dandy. Well, like 7 years.
You become a doctor after you graduate med school. Like, you get the MD, you get the diploma, you get the prescription pad.
So that's like in 4 years. If you
4
get
years,
it,
right?
If you get
but you don't.
Years,
I guess you're not like truly a doctor until you go through residency, because that's like the experience part of it. Like, you learn everything in 4 years, but you learn like the techniques and all that stuff 4 years after that. So like, I don't know. But yeah, I don't think I could do that. That's too much. You feel me?
But to bring it back to the point before we went on the tangent, it's like, how many people create their own private practices versus working under a company? What do you say, majority?
Nowadays?
Yeah, nowadays.
Nowadays, most people do the company or like a hospital route. Back day when like in the 80s when my mom was starting her practice, it wasn't as difficult because also it has to do with a lot with the economy. you know, back then everything was cheaper, everything was more affordable. You can start your own business and not like
everybody had
be
healthcare.
bankrupt. Well, not everyone.
Well, a lot of more people, I think, right? Well, I
No.
guess healthcare was just cheaper overall.
Healthcare
Yeah.
was definitely cheaper. I think premiums were cheaper, but I wouldn't say more people had healthcare. I don't really know, but yeah, I mean, it was more doable. You know, you could start like back in the day, you could pay for college working a part-time job.
True.
Isn't that crazy? Like you could like that's what I learned is like you could like colleges were that like in-state colleges. Not I don't know about private colleges, but in-state colleges you can work at like McDonald's or something like that and like pay off your tuition with that shit and still go to class. Like that's crazy, right?
That's true, but it's like nowadays, college is the business, you know?
College it was
It
always
is
a business.
Yeah, it's always a business,
But,
but back then, I think the demand for it was way less.
It was way
because
less.
you can get away making a very good living
Yeah.
with just working a blue collar job, and
Yeah, for
that was
sure.
like before like tech was super duper big. So then
Yeah.
now people are looking like for all these, I guess, white collar jobs.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is because everyone's going that route, there's still a ton of blue collar jobs that I
Yeah.
think pays well, like 6 figures, like after a year or like a few years of training. You know,
Yeah.
like I think I was listening to this video the other day where BMW said they can't find enough technicians, so
Yeah.
like literally you have to do like just a year of technician school, and the year the numbers might be off, but just based on this video,
Right.
they're like, yeah, then you get paid like 150K to work on cars, you know, and I guess that kind of makes sense. Like, I think a lot of people have this stigmatism still that blue collars, like if you're not intelligent or you couldn't get into college or you couldn't finish and you want to do all this
Nowadays
manual
it
labor.
is.
Yeah,
I think that's
nowadays.
more like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't. It's like I don't have a problem with blue collar jobs. It's just that like the government and I feel like the economy is just against that now because a lot of the blue collar jobs is being automated into like machinery that can do the job way better than any of these people can, and they don't have to pay, and the companies don't have to pay people to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like that's the problem nowadays with the whole automation and like the whole AI and the tech and all that stuff. It like removes that kind of like necessity of having to hire people. And I think nowadays companies are hiring these people out of like you know remorse, kind of like they feel bad for them.
I don't think so.
I feel like they could automate their entire like. Even I went to Wendy's actually. I just okay. This actually has a mad relation. All right, listen. So I went to Wendy's, right?
Why
And,
not
like,
Burger King? Why Wendy's?
because this is Wendy's has this thing. So like instead of going to a cashier, right, you can go to this board,
The kiosk.
the kiosk, right, and you can like click everything you want,
Yeah.
and you never have to talk to anyone, and
And then you go up and get your order.
you go get your order.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's way more efficient than lining up, telling someone your order, and like they get it wrong, and then you end up with the shitty burger or something like that. And then like, but I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
these computers or whatever are taking over for a lot of the things, and they do it better,
Right.
which is like smart but also bad,
Yeah, a lot of places have that. I think Panera also in the city has that.
Right.
'Cause I want to find there's like 10 kiosks there.
That's
and,
what I'm
like,
saying.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's automation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's good, but it's also
But I'm referring to blue collar as in skilled trades also. Like, I'm not thinking like so much like part-time jobs, like taking orders at McDonald's or at a fast food chain. I'm thinking more like electricians and plumbing and more intricate type of things where you have to learn the skills. And it's not considered a white collar job, but you still have to go through like some periods of study to understand what you're doing. Because like, let's say electrician, right? You're still dealing with voltage. You still have to understand the structure of the building to hardcore
But
wires.
I think those are more like white collar jobs. You know what I'm
Really?
saying? I mean, I don't know. If traditionally, they're considered white collar jobs. They're probably not.
Nah, it's considered blue collar.
I know, but like, I don't know. I think how blue collar is divided in is like manual labor. Like you have to have some sort of manual labor to be considered blue collar, right? But like, that's not necessarily true. Like white collar jobs also have some sort of manual labor in them. Like doctors also
yeah.
have manual labor, just maybe not into the same category as like a plumber. But like they're still like, you still have to draw blood, you still have to do all this crap. Like it's not like, you just sit at a desk and like tell people to do stuff. So like I don't know. But I mean you're right, it's like those people like plumbers or electricians have to know what they're doing. But then again, it's like, I don't know.
Because like I think we're thinking too far ahead. Where
Yeah.
like, yeah, a robot eventually can probably wire all our buildings, but I think we're very far away from that point where you can still.
But you can have
make a
computer
living.
programs wire your building and then just do what the computer program says, right? I think
No, because you still need a physical being or a physical machine
Right, to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's like.
But
there is-
the white collar the white collar aspect of it is taken away because of the computer. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not as much thinking now. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's still electricians that have to make the whole schematic for it, but like that's less of a necessity now. Now that there's computers that can do it for you in a faster time, in a more efficient manner. Like, they can just map out the whole wiring in the entire building, give it some parameters to go by, and it'll map it out for you, and then all you have to do is just copy the schematic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I think. I mean, I'm not a professional electrician, but I think it supplements what the electrician's doing. Like, it makes our job easier.
Yeah.
Like before, we had I guess cash registers and point of sale systems. We did everything by hand to calculate it,
exactly.
but that just it supplemented those jobs. Like, I don't think any jobs were lost from those systems, but it helped make the worker's day a lot easier. So I think tech, in this sense, currently helps make like plumbers' jobs and electrician jobs easier.
Yeah.
I don't think it's taking away. I don't think it's taking them away yet. But like,
But
maybe
what
10,
do
20
people?
years down the
But
line?
what do people pay them for, though? You know, they make some of the electricians make such a high salary is because they're able to do what that computer can do, is map out the whole scheme. You know, but once you take away that like thinking aspect of like the creativity and the whole skilled aspect, you can just hire people, teach them like some things, like a technician, just teach them a little bit about how wiring works, and then just tell them to follow the computer. You know what I'm saying? So that takes away the whole, like, you know, skilled part of the skilled labor part, you know? It's like...
Yeah, but I don't think it's still like let's say you have the blueprint for this building.
Yeah.
I don't think you just like plug it into this program and it maps out everything. Like, I think there's various specs also, like what type of wattage I need, or like the laws to comply. You also have to comply to laws like of each building, right?
Yeah.
And like what type of lighting. What if this thing is like busted in this area and this area is off zone right now? Like, it's a new construction. I mean, I
Right.
guess there's a new blueprint, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's just a lot of thought that has to still come from a human. I don't know. Maybe the program's advanced enough and I just don't know. But that's what I
mean,
think.
yeah, I think yeah, there's... But there's not too many people. You just need to hire one person that knows all that stuff, and then just hire, like, a team of people to just do the manual labor.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
true.
that market isn't, like, in high demand because you don't need as many people to oversee versus, like, people to just actually wire the stuff. And so I guess the people that are the technicians are actually the blue-collar workers,
Yeah,
because
I
they
mean-
just sit there and I mean, the overseer just sits there and, like, watches over everything, you know?
Yeah,
But,
I mean, if I had Wi-Fi, I would check. But since we're in a
Hey,
courtyard
you
right
feel
now, and I think the video turned off,
We can get over
there's
slow.
there's no way to check. But it's all right. Yeah.
Yo, but have you watched some of Elon Musk videos?
Yeah.
They're, like, very...
Which
like,
one?
He's always, I don't know, he seems like a very, like, he was like, in college, I just wanted to do things that, like, would change the world and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Like, he was like, I don't know, I feel like people like that who think and, like, who want to do good, or, like, want to, you know, create things that, like, will change society, are often people that, like, society is in demand for, you know? Like, that's something that will never be out of, like, innovators.
Because people like Elon Musk, why they're always in demand is because I think one is they see the world in a different light, or maybe they don't, but in this particular case, he was not afraid to go after something that would be considered, like, business-wise, like, stupid or, like, out of the ordinary. But I think ultimately, maybe subconsciously, while we're attracted to that, is as a species as a whole, we benefit from his creations, you know?
For
Like,
sure.
Yeah, like
I
we all
mean-
benefit from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when he, like, made SpaceX or something like that, he knew that it was going to become bankrupt. He thought it was going to become bankrupt.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just going to throw this idea out here, and, like, I think 2 years from now it'll go bankrupt. But, like, he wasn't worried about that, you know what I'm saying? He was just like, oh, let's just try it and see if it works. But I think I think more people, we need people that are willing to like jump to those conclusions and be like, you know, even if it bankrupts. Obviously, not everyone can do that, but like, you know.
I mean, I think for all his companies, he thought they would go bankrupt. Like Tesla
That's
almost
true.
went bankrupt. SpaceX almost went bankrupt. But I think the story with SpaceX was like he had 3 or 4 launches that were unsuccessful, and he only had enough money for one more launch.
Yeah.
And then I think that after he was successful in the 4th or 5th launch, like the last launch he had money for, that's when he sealed a government contract to deliver to outer space. And I think that's pretty cool to take a risk on. Like it's not like a cheap company where you can just bounce back. Like
That's what
I'm
I'm
just making t-shirts. It's like
Yeah.
I'm dropping millions of dollars to hire like the smartest minds to make this space
It's like
rockets.
it's like a couple million per launch.
Yeah, no.
So it's not
crazy.
like, but like, yeah, I mean, obviously it's easier said than done, right? Like, I feel like there's also people in college that are like just potheads. They're just like, yo,
What's
you
wrong with
could do
potheads,
this. No, there's nothing wrong, but I'm just saying people who have like empty ideas. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like, oh, like, yo, I think
Like-
this would be cool if
like an idea of no execution.
yeah, exactly. Like people who just think just to think and think they're the smartest people in the world and then like don't do anything about it.
That's true.
And oftentimes I feel like their ideas are very like simplistic and like could be thought of like by a kid sometimes, but like
I think the best ideas though are very simplistic. It's just the execution is at high level. Like think about it.
But
SpaceX, the premise was let's launch a rocket, and the majority of the cost goes from building the rocket and not the fuel. So if we can like get the rocket back, then we get like 90% of our cost back or whatever.
Yeah.
And like that sounds very simple when I'm explaining it, but I think I don't know. Well, Elon says I think like the physics is not super duper hard, but obviously practical application is always different than the theoretics. So I think the hard part was getting it to work, obviously.
also you gotta have the expertise, right? Like even if you have like an idea like, yo, I'm gonna make like an AI that can cook me dinner, right? But like that's cool, but do you know anything about AI? Do you know how like computers work? Like are you able to execute your idea in a timely fashion or like, you know, in a good way? And so I feel like a lot of people don't have that capability, so they just spit out ideas that don't really mean anything. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, cool, I can have an AI that makes me dinner, but like, all right.
Yeah, like there's too many people just like, yo, I got this idea, you gotta program it for me or something like that. But I think that what people don't get is somebody's probably already thought about that idea and didn't execute.
That's what I'm saying.
Like that person.
Because something is hard about it, you know, there's like an obstacle in the way of how to execute it.
Yeah, I think people don't understand that at the end of the day, your product is going to be bought by people. So if the people don't want it, your business is not going to be sustainable for one. And two is like, even if your idea is so bad, but people actually want to buy it, like then you have a good business, you know? It's like that pet rock that sold for like $5.
Or the Supreme brick that sold for $4.90.
I know, it's crazy. It's like as long as there's a market for it, you can sell it.
But it's also like
And execution, yeah.
But for those things, it's like more about the hype than anything, right? Like, how are you gonna sell a brick for $90 if you're not Supreme? You know, like
That's true. So branding comes into it too. A lot of things come into it, you know. Like, I guess I don't know. I feel like some people they buy a Tesla. I mean, this might be like a small minority, but they buy it just because Elon Musk made it. You know, like Elon Musk fanboys.
I know there's people that return their Teslas because Elon Musk joined the advisory board for Trump.
Oh, yeah. So like a lot of it has to do with like people's personal feelings about a product, you know.
But I think Teslas are honestly pretty revolutionary, though.
Yeah,
like
I
in
think they
itself,
are.
without the whole Elon Musk, like trail.
Yeah, I think that's also why it makes a good product because like now you see like a lot of automotive companies they're doing like half electric cars or full electric cars.
Yeah.
Like I think the scale of electric cars is expanding. Also with technology in the cars, like we have like 3G, 4G networks in cars now with like tons of like security features. Like everyone's trying to get on this auto drive.
Yeah,
so like,
I'm trying to get on that auto drive too, man. Shit.
All right, if you had auto drive, would you live in Manhattan?
Hell yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Because auto drive is gonna change how people commute. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine if
there wouldn't be traffic.
You
know, a lot of traffic is because of humans cause traffic, not cars.
Yeah. For one, not traffic, and two is you can sleep in your car without worrying about unexpected things. Once it gets advanced enough, of course. Like, what's stopping me from living like 2 hours away if I have to commute to the city, where I can just sleep in my car and take a 2-hour nap?
That's what I'm saying.
You know, so I can like technically like sleep at 2, wake up at 7 or something, and then take my 2-hour nap in my car and wake up in the city where I'm spending like a fraction of rent for like double or triple.
That's
the
true.
space,
Oh,
you know?
that's what you meant. Okay, I was like, when I live in the city,
so I think some people would see like that.
I would save a ton of money. Yeah, you would save a ton of money if you didn't live in the city.
Yeah. Oh, and also in a recent Elon Musk like video, I think he said that once auto drive gets approved like federally and it's like working the way it should be, it's going to change riding economy also, because
What
like riding economy, where you make your money back from buying a Tesla, because when you buy it, when you're not using it, they want this technology so you can use it as like a Uber driver. Yeah, like a self-drive Uber driver where people can like literally request your car to drive them somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's pretty crazy.
I think they have. But obviously people would still be worried that people might trash their car and stuff like that. But like,
I'm not saying everyone will do it, but for the people who do it, they can probably make some money off of it.
Yeah, I feel like I've read somewhere also that one city or some city, maybe London or something like that. I don't think it's London or Singapore. They have an automated bus line.
Really?
So the entire line of buses just runs in automation.
Wait,
There's
is this
no
like
driver.
a trolley or?
No, it's a bus.
It's like a bus on wheels, not attached to any cables or anything?
Yeah, it's automated. I think it's just one of their lines, but I think one of their lines is completely automated. Like there's no driver ever, and just it stops in the stop and people just hop on. And people say it's like way more efficient and like in a timely manner than like regular buses are, with drivers and human error, stuff like that.
It's pretty crazy. So, do you know if it like merges onto a road with other people driving cars?
Yeah.
So so
you can look. I mean, we should internet, but I think it's Singapore. I think it's one of those like eastern cities.
I think that's the cool part about being in like a way smaller country. Like there's less like red tape you got to go around to get that done. Like
and Singapore's a pretty nice like country, you know.
There's like mad stuff that's illegal. Like you can't spit or you get fined like $2,000 or something. You can't like.
That's why I feel like that would be the first city to have something like that, because there's not so many regulations that go into play.
Yeah, but also wonder at the same time, that means they have a Singapore-based company that's probably developing this technology, or they import a lot of maybe they imported talent that's like already working on this, and people are like hopping ship to get something that's actually will get done in the near future to do that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea, but then again, it takes away the drivers, the blue-collar drivers. Like they're gone now. You don't need them. Soon there won't be any bus drivers anywhere. So it's like, and then you have a growing population to feed. You have all these people that are in poverty, and then like the whole government thing. It's like, oh, I don't want to feed the poor people. Because like.
But that means we just gotta hop on universal basic income.
What, you mean socialism?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would never happen in America, unfortunately. But I think a lot of youths like socialism. I think a lot of like 20 to 30-year-olds like socialism. But I get why though.
Nah, I think 18-year-olds and older. No, all right, 20s.
About that range of like late teens to like 20s to 30s, and then once you actually have a job that you make tons of money with, you're less likely to support socialism, because you're like, oh, I make all this money, I don't want anyone to have it.
I think it's the extreme ends of the spectrum. It's like the rich people, like the rich kids who are like who always had everything. So like, nah, this is better. Like this is morally.
Yeah, I don't want my mom to not buy people.
Ground.
Yeah, I don't want my mom to not be able to buy me Ferraris no more. Like that's crazy. Like fuck the poor people kind of thing. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's true though. But like once you have a lot, you don't want to give it away. And when you don't have enough, you want other people to give it away.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, you ever see that video of like this college student asking Nancy Pelosi, the head minority leader, for like socialism, whether socialism be better than capitalism, and she's like, no, absolutely not. You ever see that shit?
No.
Oh. But he was just
What
like,
happens?
Huh?
What happens in it?
I mean, he got so popular, but it's like for no reason. Like people were like, "Oh, he's such a snowflake," because he's like, dude, he's in college, and he's like, "Do you think America would be better off if we weren't a capitalist society? We were just a socialist society?" And then Nancy was like, "Well, good question, but we're gonna be a capitalist society forever, So it's like
I think it's been shown that socialism doesn't work in like the purest terms.
it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It's communism.
Yeah.
Socialism can never work as purely socialism. It has to be some sort of.
It only works if we're all robots. But
it only works if we're super altruistic.
Yeah.
We're all just like.
If we're all on the
giving.
same wavelength.
Yeah.
It works. Like if we're all just like robotically, we're just gonna follow this. But we have like humans just naturally have like greed, and
that's
we
what I'm
just
saying.
want more,
Greed.
And that stuff which. Like somebody will just come into power and just dominate everybody,
Yeah.
With like their small like group.
North Korea is socialist.
Are they?
Yeah.
Just communist though, right?
That's socialism though.
All right.
Because every citizen has the same benefits. They all get paid the same.
It's fake though, because
But
the
that's
people.
what I'm saying.
The people at the top are definitely getting more.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is why.
But so someone's always going to be able to take advantage of like the people that are purely socialists.
Yeah.
You're going to have like that hierarchy of like royals that like can rule upon the socialists because they're too stupid to think there's anything else.
I don't think they're too stupid to think for themselves, but the price of acting out as like a follower in a socialistic country has like dire consequences. Whereas
they're
in
bred
America,
to be naive, though. That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah,
like
that
they're
too.
bred, like they're not taught anything else besides what they want to be taught. Them to be taught.
Yeah.
That's why they're stupid.
Yeah, I think it's both too.
Yeah.
But why do you think there's like a large group of people in America who praise socialism, or they want socialism, or I guess to become more socialistic? I don't think it's that extreme where they want socialism, but I think they just want things to be more fair. I think that's a more accurate assessment.
Well, people for like who support socialism are usually people of the lower income spectrum.
You think
like
so?
it's
I think
always
there's a lot
like
of
that.
like affluent white people who do that too. Just to
No.
No?
Okay. That's true, but like not for themselves. They themselves
not
are
for
not
themselves, not for
affluent.
themselves.
They might come from affluent families, but they themselves are not affluent. So
Okay.
but that's what I'm saying. Like if you have like a self-made man like Elon Musk, I'm not saying he thinks socialism is bad, but he might not support socialism as
I
much
don't
as
think he does.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know, but like he might not support socialism as much as like a college student or like someone who just got out of college who's like, oh, socialism, universal healthcare, I'm gonna pay for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously it makes sense though. Like obviously if you don't have that much, you want the government to be able to support you, and with the economy the way it is today, everything's super expensive. Obviously it makes sense for them to think like, oh, why should I be paying like half my paycheck for healthcare premiums when the government can just give it to me for free? You know what I'm saying? But someone like who's making millions of dollars doesn't care what they spend $2,000 on healthcare.
Right.
So
I don't
it's
know.
like
I just always had the mindset like if I work for it, why shouldn't I have it? Because I work for it.
That's what I'm saying.
Of course, like.
But then you're anti-socialism.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were supporting it. I thought you were supporting
I'm
it.
not supporting it.
Oh, I don't know.
Nah, I'm just talking about it. I wasn't supporting it.
Okay, never mind. So you're for meritocracy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what did I say that gave off?
I don't know. I
I
thought maybe you're just playing devil's advocate then. Because you were like, oh.
Well, I was just trying to see both sides.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Why am I working then? I believe in
I don't know, man. You try to
I
wait.
just gotta go on some parades, Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I always thought like, if I work for something, why don't I deserve to keep it?
Yeah.
Or at least most of it. Like I guess government does do some stuff for us, but
Yeah.
I don't think they do enough where it warrants like all this money to go to them. But also like as I get more mature, it's also like. I think luck had a lot to play with it too. Like I'm lucky that I wasn't born in like a
It's privilege.
Yeah, like a not super privileged, but privileged enough to
Yeah.
not be like in a poverty line neighborhood or live
Like
on
you're
poverty level.
you're lucky enough to be able to do things you want and not have to work for a living. just to
I
support
mean, I still
yourself.
gotta work, but
No, but I mean work for like, you know, to pay rent
yeah,
or
yeah.
like to pay like your bills off or your food. You know,
So like a working American class, and I think working American class is already like really good compared to the rest of the world.
For sure.
Like what people don't get is I think 35,000 was it in if you make $35,000 you're already in the top 1% of the world, and that's pretty insane.
No, you're definitely way better than people off like in like some third world countries, you know, where we don't really have clean water. Like you can get clean water anywhere here, like off the tap. Yeah. You know, so it's like that's
not Flint.
Huh?
Not Flint.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other story. You feel me?
Right. So when you went to Thailand recently, how far did your dollar translate though?
It went everywhere.
When I was looking at like images, it was like $70 gets you like a luxury resort in Thailand with like a pool.
We got a 5-star hotel for 4 people for $250 a night. So that's like
$60 a person, almost like $61.
Yeah, and when I say 5-star, like this thing had its own washer and dryer in the unit.
Did you have your own lady boys each?
Nah, but they would have came back. You feel me? Because we were the penthouse of Bangkok. Like, have you ever seen The Hangover? The Hangover is filmed in Bangkok.
Yeah.
And they have like this beautiful view of like the city, and then there's a pool on the deck. I mean, it honestly translates so much in Thailand. Like, you feel like you're rich. Like, I felt like if I made the same salary I did here and lived in Thailand, I would be way better off. You know? And food is only like $3 a meal, $3-4 a meal.
But do you know what type of citizens in Thailand stay in like those 5-star hotels? Like, is it only like the top 1% who stays in it? So I'm trying to make the relation. Like, for us normal like American people, we can stay in like what's considered like top of the line luxury in Thailand, right? Whereas I think you said that people in Thailand, only their most affluent can stay in these places.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's like pretty insane when you...
Yeah, I mean, if I was considered from Thailand, I would probably be in the top 1% of Thailand, making the income that I am now. Like bottom 90% of income right now in New York would be top 1% of income in Thailand. I'm serious. I'm not even joking. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I feel like, and people do that. What they do is they actually just take like 2 or 3 years off in from working their job and just live in Thailand off of their salary from their job from before. Like, they don't even have to work. Yeah. That's how crazy it is.
I think there's a small culture. I don't know how big it's gotten, but when I was like reading on working overseas, there was an article or a blog post that I read about a guy. Because English was in high demand like 7 years ago. I think I read this in college. I mean, like high school.
They teach English?
Well, I think he knew English, so he worked as a hotel manager because the demand for like foreign talent was really big, especially in like service industries, because I guess Thailand makes the majority of their money from tourism.
Yeah, for sure.
So then this guy got like very nice hotel room, all comped in his package, like unlimited food, and then he got paid like pretty well to manage like this hotel.
Yeah.
You know, that's like pretty crazy, and I think a lot of people who are not happy here should, I mean, I don't know if the options are that big now, but if they're not happy here, like, I think there are still opportunities overseas to live a good life. It might not be in America anymore, but to live a good life, and I don't know, like, enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, Thailand, for example, is like so I mean, they're not westernized, but there's so many Western people there now. Like, when I went to Thailand, I didn't really interact with that many Thai people.
Natives.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just like where we were, or like with the hotels we stayed. But like, even if I walked the streets, you could see, like, I would say 7 out of 10 people were Western.
Were they tourists though?
They were probably tourists. Yeah.
I think it's just because the nature of it being so cheap, and like, I think Asia has really been up on like a crazy trend of tourism now.
For sure, yeah.
That's 2, and then like 3, like Instagram. Like there's always like some white chick taking a picture with an elephant. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, that's me though. My profile picture is the elephant.
With the elephant, so then they just want to go to Thailand, and it's
I mean, it's a good life. Honestly, if you could do that, I would totally do that. But then again, you live with the reality of like, okay, what do I do now? Like, after 2-3 years of being in Thailand, and you're like, how do I make more money? Because you can't really work in Thailand forever. Because eventually, like, you're gonna like have to learn Thai, and you're gonna I don't know. Like you can't progress.
The money runs out.
Yeah, you can't progress in Thailand without being a native or knowing Thai really well. You know, so it's like,
I mean,
and then
you
you
probably
gotta
start
come back
business
here.
there. You know what I'm saying? Like in Bangkok, like I still think that foreigners, they still eat at McDonald's and stuff that's familiar to them. Like this is what I
Thailand?
think. A lot of white people when they go to Asia, they still be not trying like the craziest stuff that
Yeah,
Asian
I feel like that
stuff
too.
had,
I went
like-
with a bunch of white people.
Or were they down though?
Huh?
Were they down to like try
They
bugs?
they tried pad thai.
But Pad Thai's like mad basic.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I was like, yo, let's go to the night market and, like, let's go see what they got. And they were like, nah, let's just go to, like, a Ladyboy bar instead. And I was just like, okay. But yeah, I mean, it's true. They're not really willing to try the local, I guess, food
Yeah.
or, like, what the locals eat every day. Not like, we did do Dine in the Dark. Have you ever done that?
Oh, what's that?
It's like they blindfold you. And
I've never
then
been in Thailand, but
No, they have it here.
Oh, they have it here.
They put you in this really dark room, and there's like you can't see anything, and there's a blind waitress that serves you.
Oh.
And so it's all just like
It's all about your sense. Yeah.
sensory
Yeah,
deprivation.
Yeah.
So you're just tasting food for like the taste. You don't even know what it is, and then you try to guess what it is afterwards. But that's such a Western thing to do. I was like, we're in Thailand? Why are we doing this shit when we can do this in New York? You know?
That's
So
what I'm
it's like-
saying. We can open Western stuff up there. Like, we can open up halal guys in Thailand, and I bet you it'd be popping.
I know it'd be popping for sure, but like, I mean, yeah, but like, unless you start your own business there, you're not gonna like make it anywhere for
Yeah.
like any, you know, it's hard.
I think that's a lot of fields though. Like, you just can't be doing the same stuff for like 10 years straight.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now at least with like technology.
Unless you don't have
like,
a career. Oh yeah, and technology is different.
Because you just
also.
gotta like, just gotta keep innovating or changing your practice to something that's in demand.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's hard, bro. It's I mean I would live abroad for a bit if I wasn't doing like all this application bullshit. But like, it's nice. It's nice seeing the world like through like another culture that's not like so driven on like, you know, finding the best jobs and like making the most money. There's a lot of people in Thailand aren't like that. They're not like, oh, I want to
Yeah.
be like a star.
It's an American thing.
It's a very Western thing, you know. It's like I gotta go to college, I gotta do this. Like a lot of people were just happy driving tuk-tuks. You know what I'm saying?
What's a tuk-tuk for people who don't know?
Tuk-tuk's like this, like, so it's like a motorcycle with a huge like a wagon on the back. It's basically
It's
a
pretty much-
tricycle with like a wagon that you can sit in as a passenger.
It's a scooter carrying a carriage, pretty much. Kinda,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, you just like, and there's drivers. It's like super dangerous because there's no doors or seatbelts or anything. So like, if the motorcycle crashed, it would just die. But yeah, I mean, people are just happy, like chilling, like talking with other tuk-tuk drivers and like driving tourists around, and they make jokes. Like they were super funny. Like when they were talking to us, they were like, "Oh, you trying to find lady boys?" Like, "Oh, I know where the lady boys are."
I think that going to Asia like so much, the culture there is more of a collective culture, and
Yeah.
people are just more humble.
Yeah.
Like people, like legitimately, people are happy to work. I mean, not all people, obviously, but some people are like happy to work at restaurants and
Yeah.
being bartenders and stuff.
They don't
'cause-
care.
Yeah,
They're
they don't
happy.
care. Yeah. But I guess also like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess they're happy. I don't know. I don't know if they're actually happy or not.
Well, I guess they're
I
not
think-
as like
Depressed.
yeah, depressed.
Yeah.
Like I think society there doesn't make it seem like, oh, if you work at McDonald's or as a tuk-tuk driver that you're like not doing well for yourself. Because they probably are doing well. So they probably have most of them have families. They like feed them. They're able to like buy luxury things sometimes. Like, but their whole life is not based on materialistic or like what they have. It's about, you know, their family and like all that stuff. So it's like, it's different for sure. But some people might like it. I don't think it's for me though.
Well, that's because you're born here.
That's true.
You might once you adjust to it, and you like, I don't know. I think as long as you have like a group of friends or a group of people who you enjoy,
Yeah.
that's all that matters for you to
Yeah.
like find happiness everywhere. You know?
Yeah.
I think that's all that matters.
True. You're right.
But we up on an hour.
Oh, we have an hour right now,
Yeah.
dude? Fuck, dude. We gotta end this shit.
All right, yeah, let's wrap this up. Where can we find you, Albert, the soon-to-be doctor?
You can find me nowhere because I don't give away my social media like that. You feel me?
Yeah.
But if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's AXING at 93.
He never posts, though, so don't follow
Yeah, that's
him.
true. Yeah.
All right, thank you guys for watching. I mean, what?
For listening.
Thank you guys for listening to the podcast, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Peace out.